Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel here on John's Briefs. Back again with the exquisite Esquire, Tim Forshee of Forshee Law.
Exquisite, yeah, like a rock.
Tim recently went on vacation. That's why you haven't seen him on the channel for a couple weeks. Had to go and have some fun internationally. We'll talk about that on another one. But today we had another video where a defender shot a guy in the back. And some folks, happens every time, said, well, wait a minute, that's murder. You shot somebody in the back.
Can't do that.
Let's talk to the lawyer about it. To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below. So this comes up from time to time.
Yeah.
And I always say, this is one of those things that I almost feel like Hollywood is more responsible for than actual court cases.
I think it's the media in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, it's interesting. I just had this exact same conversation come up in a class that I taught last Sunday.
Okay.
We're talking about judgmental shooting, and we talk about the horrible situation that happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, that triggered all the rioting.
Yeah.
And the officer was forced to fire from the rear, and the shots entered the suspect's back. And that, the media just went nuts with it. And of course, there's a racial issue in that case as well, and that fueled some of the fires. But the whole point is, I said, so is that legal? Can you shoot people in the back? And I would say more than half the class said, absolutely not. You can't shoot somebody in the back. I said, what if he's getting ready to stab a girl to death and he has his back to you? He's getting ready to cut a little girl's throat. I mean, I guess you just have to wait. You can't save the little girl's life because he's only presenting his back. And as you always point out, and as I point out as well, it's never where you shoot somebody, it's why you shoot someone.
Just remember, that's it. There's the principle.
That's the mantra. So if something horrible is going to happen, if you don't stop this attack, it doesn't matter where you shoot them. It just matters why you shot them.
Yes.
So and that's really the answer. And if you stick to that, you're probably going to reason out the actual correct decision.
Well, and the why is not just because I felt like it, right? So if that's
Bastard
the why,
needed killing.
because he needed killing.
This isn't 1884 Texas anymore, thank goodness.
But again, you know what's funny? I kind of feel like it goes back to that kind of Old West, the romanticized Old West
back
ethic.
shooter.
Yeah.
You see that term in
you
every
dirty
Gary
back
Cooper
shooter.
movie. You dirty rotten back shooter. You dirty scumbag. Yeah.
And that's that idea of fairness, that idea of reciprocity, of proportionality. Well, he wasn't a threat to you. Well, if somebody isn't a deadly threat to you, generally speaking, we don't shoot somebody who's not a deadly
Regardless
threat.
of where you shoot them.
Right, regardless.
Shoot him in the foot. It's still illegal.
If I shoot him in the front and he's not a deadly threat to someone,
that's right,
then I'm going to go to prison for a long time.
Yeah, for a long, long time.
Now, however, if, like you say, he's a threat to somebody else, or again, I make a decision to shoot him, and I've seen this 100 times on camera, that he sees me about to pull the trigger, I make the decision and I start pressing the trigger, and he turns as I hit him with the first and second one, and so that third or fourth one goes into his side or into his back.
There's a famous case against a police officer in Dade County, Florida, back in the 80s, where the prosecutor basically said, well, you shot him 6 times. The first 4 were from the front, but the last 2 weren't. They were behind the midline, and so we're going to go ahead and prosecute you for manslaughter.
Wow.
And it's like, you realize that those 6 shots were fired in probably less than a second.
Yeah, between them, yeah.
And by the time your mind tells your trigger finger to stop, it's going to be past that second envelope, and meanwhile the body is turning.
Right.
And you've got to get a really good expert witness in there. You've got to get a surgeon. You've got to get somebody that's an expert on kinesiology, perhaps. And you got to explain to the jury why those last 2 shots were behind the midline. They weren't intentionally shooting somebody in the back, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all, a good attorney with the right expert witnesses should be able to explain physiology and kinesiology to a jury.
And I always say, hopefully explain it to the DA such that the district
that
attorney
there's no jury
goes, he's right, we're not going to catch this
That's
one.
exactly right. The theory of success here isn't that you win trials, is that you keep cases from going to trial.
There it is.
Amen. So.
But so again, in that particular video, dude has just threatened him and his lady, I don't know if his wife, his girlfriend, whatever. They get off the motorcycle. Dude's getting on the motorcycle, still threatening them with a gun, even though he's stuck it in his waistband to get on his bike. Dude pulls his gun and burns him down. Now, I don't know about no Argentinian law. That's going to be a different story under their legal system.
We did see Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. That's close.
Yeah,
it's close. But.
However, under American law, there's always a defensive third party.
Sure.
B, there's always the idea that says, no, he literally just threatened me with a gun. And I have the right to stop him from stealing my property, but if I try to stop him from stealing my property, he's going to kill me with that gun.
Right.
And so I shot him. He's still threatening me with the gun to steal my
It's
my
almost
car.
the fleeing felon that poses a grave risk to bodily injury of
Yeah.
other people. So I will say, though, if again, you can Monday morning quarterback everything,
Sure.
right? So let me Monday morning quarterback this. From what I saw in the video, I think you're right. The guy still had a gun. He'd made a deadly threat, but he was on his way exiting with his loot. I don't know that I would have shot. I think I absolutely would have drawn. Weirdly enough, if there wasn't traffic, maybe I had enough situational awareness to dial that in, maybe I wouldn't. If there wasn't traffic, I think I would have proned out with my gun, presenting a really, really small target. And if he re-engaged, then I would have shot. If he's on his way out of the area, he hasn't shot anybody. I don't know if it's a fake gun. I don't know if it's loaded. I mean, not that those are relevant after the fact, but during the, if there's a way that I can not have to shoot somebody, I'm always looking for that, right?
I think it's an interesting bit because as I watched the video, he hadn't yet started to exit. He was preparing to exit,
Yeah.
so he's put his gun away. He's getting
Right,
on the bike, but
right.
he hadn't ridden
I
off
thought he
yet.
was like on the bike, letting the clutch out, and was taking off.
I think he was getting on the bike.
Okay,
So we're
all right.
slicing a small
Sure,
pie.
yeah. And again, the greater the proximity to him being able to not be on the bike yet or get off the bike quickly would diminish what I'm saying. So yeah, I agree with you.
But I mean, if he's riding off,
Right.
And I think what Tim said, listen to the lawyer here, guys, because the idea says if I don't have to shoot him, I shouldn't.
Yeah. People, we talk about the castle doctrine. We've talked about that on your program before, and
Yep.
people think that that's some sort of a hunting license. It's a ticket. Somebody breaks in my house, I can kill him. Really? What if it's a person who's obviously deranged and nude and out of their element? What if it's a 9-year-old Girl Scout that pushes your door open and sells you some cookies? You just get to kill her, right?
Right.
It's not a hunting license. Just because you can shoot somebody most definitely does not mean that you should. You only shoot them when you have no alternative but to shoot them or die.
And that's not even should, that's must.
Yeah.
Right? Now I must shoot him.
Must shoot him, exactly.
And so again, is it a crime to shoot someone in the back?
No. Well, it can be. It can be a crime to shoot somebody in the front.
It can, yeah. So will a prosecutor ever use that in a charging decision? You said yes.
Yes, I think they have.
They
Yeah,
have.
you bet, sure.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Is it common? Well, this is why then we get experts involved and we get good attorneys. Now, this starts with a good attorney who is arguing your case for you with the district attorney.
Correct.
Who says, hey man, that's not how this goes, and let me explain how this goes. And they do actually sit across the table a little bit, defense attorneys and prosecuting attorneys, and hey, this is my theory and what I think I'm going to charge for. Man, I don't think that's wise. I think you should avoid it.
It's sort of, this is kind of potentially awkward to say, but there's a lot. I was a young prosecutor. My first job out of law school was as a prosecutor. There's a lot of prosecutors and public defenders that's their first job. It's a stepping stone job, and they're young.
Yep.
They're in their 20s. Maybe mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s. They don't have a lot of experience yet, and you don't learn, as we've talked about before. You learn almost nothing about self-defense law in law school.
Yep.
And so sometimes you actually do have to figure out a way to politely educate somebody about this so that they make the right decision. Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to waste tax dollars and time and court docket time on a case that shouldn't be charged in the first place. So sometimes, and there's an art form there, and I don't know that I'm great at it, but I try to be. You've got to educate these people politely without demeaning them, and let them know that here's how we do the right thing here. And that's hard sometimes. That's a tightrope.
Okay, here's an ancillary topic. You guys know I like to run rabbit holes here, and Tim is, you're really getting after this, is that so a lot of people say, I want a bulldog for an attorney. I want an attorney who is going to argue for me and is going to stand for my rights and won't take any crap from the prosecutor. There's a place for that, but there's also a place for a defense attorney who has great people skills with the prosecutor's
I was a
office.
judge for a judge pro tem, so a part-time judge for about 14 years, and I'm telling you, you'd see that lawyer come into court, and you could see the court staff, and everybody just not this guy, and they come in there and what they're trying to do is, I think, like you said, they're trying to impress their client about what a bulldog they are. And they're curt with everybody, and they're louder than they need to be, and they file frivolous motions, and they're just sort of stomping their feet in court. And trust me, it doesn't help your client at all. Now, there may be a weird case that I don't know that I've seen yet where it would help your client, but coming in and being an a-hole doesn't help. You always catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And I find that finding out the court clerk's name and being polite and asking how their weekend was, and just trying to be a good human being who happens to be a lawyer goes a lot farther than coming in there and stomping your feet like a jerk like that. Yeah.
So when you're picking an attorney, that idea of how's their interpersonal skills, and not only are they knowledgeable in self-defense, not only are they good with the law, not only are they interested in helping me, but do they have good relationships in the prosecutor's office?
And you don't you don't want to go in there and start. I mean, let me put it this way: you don't back down from a fight. You don't.
Sure.
You don't want a lawyer who's
Who's a wuss.
who's a paper guy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time, you don't start fights. You don't back down from fights, but you don't start fights. And I think that's maybe a good rule of thumb.
I can tell you, I've been involved in cases with lawyers that don't have those people skills, and guess what happens when they file motions?
Yeah.
They don't get approved.
That's right.
Because the judge gets tired of them because they did 9 motions that were garbage.
It's the little boy who cried wolf, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
even if it's a meritorious motion, if it's hidden amongst a bunch of BS, the judge is you're not gonna get the benefit of the doubt.
And you might get it on appeal. Hey, I filed this motion, it didn't get, and so then when it's all written on paper and it gets away from the
People always
personalities.
talk about appeals, right? So here's how an appeal works: you're going to prison, and
Right.
the appeal might take 2 years, 4 years. If you want to go to the Supreme Court, 8 to 10 years. You're in prison the entire time. And by the way, unless you're indigent and the court will appoint a public defense appeals lawyer, which is rare, boy, oh boy, you think the trial was expensive, try appeal work.
Yeah.
So people say that really frivolous, like, I'll just appeal.
Yeah.
You don't want to appeal.
I will say a recent case that I've been involved in, just to throw things out there for you, is going to appeal, and it should go to appeal. This particular one is problematic, and the appeal attorney, who is a very good attorney, just required a $50,000 deposit up front.
Yeah. Not out of the ordinary.
Oh, geez. Okay,
Exactly.
well, let's go sign the mortgage documents on the farm there, Mabel. So anyways, back to the original idea. Can you shoot somebody in the back? Depends. Is it an automatic evil? No. Remember, the jury is always going to say who's reasonable.
Right.
The finder of fact is going to decide who's reasonable and who's not. That's where the case is. And then, man, good stuff on attorneys and making sure that your attorney is not only an expert in being able to understand the law, but to educate the other side, educate the judge, educate the jury.
What you just said really is important, because I think if you're going to do these kind of cases, you've got to be a teacher. You got to be a good teacher. And a good teacher has a little humor, and they have a little wisdom, and they have a little self-effacing self-knowledge. And because you've got to teach the prosecutor, and then you're going to teach the judge on the motions, and most importantly, you might have to teach the jury, because all they know about it is what they saw in Hawaii Five-0. It just doesn't.
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason. It's not
Watching
relevant.
Law and Order.
Exactly.
All right, I have an interesting one I'm going to spring on Tim here next. So we'll see you next week.
Great.